Welcome to my channel. In this tutorial, we will explore the benefits of using tables as opposed to data ranges. If you never used tables before, I will demonstrate the benefits in different areas when it comes to data analysis and how efficiently and quickly you can produce results by just using tables. Having said that, let's move on with the demonstration. In our example, we have the first quarter expense data for our XYZ company. On the left side, we will demonstrate typical data range operations, and on the right side, we will perform same operations as they relate to tables. Let's format the data range. Typically, I would add a grid around the data. Let's select our data range. Add an old border. Let's format the column headers. Select the first row, change the font, and assign a color. There you go. The steps we perform at the data range can simply be achieved by just turning our data range to a table. Let me expand the right side and demonstrate 3 ways to do that. First, at the Home tab, click on Insert and select Table. Confirm the range of your table and make sure My Table Has Headers is checked. Click OK. And there you have it. Table is formatted, nice grid around it, and the column headers show beautifully. Second way to change this to a table, just click on your data range and use keyboard shortcut Ctrl-T. Make sure your range is the right one, and there you have it. Third option, at the Home tab, under the Styles group, select Format as Table, choose any design, confirm your range, make sure my table has headers is checked off, and there you have it. As soon as the table gets created, notice at the Home tab the introduction of a new tab that's called Table Design. This tab shows whenever you click inside the table, it appears. If you click outside the table, it disappears. Let's explore the Table Design ribbon. The first thing, you have the ability to name the table, which is perfect for, especially in cases when you use a lot of tables, to separate and distinguish among them. When you define names, make sure you don't use any spaces. Use unique names, and names are not case sensitive. Let's review the ribbon and see the remaining features it has to offer. First of all, let's go to the styles. You can change the style of the table at any point by just selecting one of the available styles. You can select banded rows or banded columns if that works for you. You can click on the first column, it bolds the first column in the table, and you can do the same with the last column. You can click on Filter button if you want the filter button showing or not. In general, you have a lot of options to format your table. When you're working with a data range and scroll up or down, the list, depending on the length of it, You will notice that the column headers do not remain visible. To achieve this, you need to freeze the header row. Select the row below the headers. At the Home tab, click on View, select Freeze Pane, and select Freeze Top Row. Now when you scroll up and down the range, you will notice that the headers remain visible. Let's switch to the table view. When you scroll up and down at the table level, notice that the headers automatically remain on top. So by default, the headers are always visible in the table. A word of caution, if you click outside the table and scroll, then you lose the headers, so your scrolling needs to happen within the table. Let's add a totals row at the data range side. Scroll to the bottom, add a row, call it totals, and add the sum formula to adapt the column. Format the totals row, and you're ready. Now on the table side, things are much simpler. At the ribbon, Table Design, click on Total Row. Automatically you see the totals are inserted at the bottom of the table. If you click at the total cell, you will notice a variety of other functions that can be performed without entering a formula. You can click anywhere in the totals row, you can insert another function. We just inserted a function that counts the total rows in the list. On the data range side, if we want to do the same thing, we have to be aware that of the count varieties of formulas, so we have to choose the count A in order to be able to perform the operation. And there you have it. You can easily derive that operations at the table level, they're much simpler and quicker than the ones at the data range. Calculator columns. At the data range side, let's start by adding a new column with a formula to convert text dates to dates. Let's add one column, column F, call it expense date converted. The formula we'll use is the date value formula that converts a text date to actual date format. Let's copy and paste the formula below. Right-click on the selected range and select Format Cells and select Date and apply one of the types, and there you have it. Let's add one more column. After column B, add column, call it period. We're going to enter a formula that converts the calendar period to a text period derived from the date converter. We'll use the text and the month formula. Let's copy paste the formula below to the rest of the column cells. And there you have it. Let's go to the table side and perform the same operations. Column F, just start typing the title, and then automatically you'll see that the table has been expanded to accommodate the new column, and the formatting has been applied by Excel. So the formula we're adding again is the same, date value. Notice now when we pick up the cell that Excel assigns the name of the column as opposed to the cell reference. Now let's format the column cells to be dates. And there you have it. Now let's add one more calculated column, the period column. So let's go after column B and insert a column. Automatically, the table has been expanded to include the new column. And let's add the same formula we added before that converts the date to a calendar period text format. Notice that you don't have to copy paste the formula. Excel automatically expands the formulas to the remaining cells. This is a great time savings. Tables make it easy to perform calculations and create formulas. Excel will automatically extend formulas to new rows in the table when you add new data. Two popular operations of data analysis, sorting and filtering. Let's see how we perform this at the data range. At the Home tab, click Sort and Filter, select Filter. Notice the filtering arrows that appear at the column headers, indicating that your filter option is active. When you click on any of these arrows, you get the options to sort, and the area below is where you set up your filters. Similar at the table side, we get the exact same thing, the sorting options, and below is the filtering options. Let's filter a data by expense date. Let's go and select all transactions for January. Deselect all. Select January, click OK. Same operation at the table level, works exactly the same way. When a filter is set up in a column, you notice the funnel that appears next to the column name. To clear the filter, select Clear Filter from Column. Let's sort the data by expense date. Notice the arrow which indicates that this column is being sorted. Let's add the filter 2, select period 2. Again, notice the funnel next to the name of the column, indicating the column contains a filter condition. Exactly identical operations at the table level. Notice the up arrow and funnel indicating columns are being sorted and filtered respectively. Clear the filter and clear the filter from the table. When you're filtering ranges of data, you may end up having issues when it comes to calculating subtotals. It all depends which formulas we used in the beginning. For example, if I filter for January only, the table, then you look at the totals. 19,000 total and 66 transactions. When I do the same thing at the data range, no change. This is still representing the total of the column for all the records in the range. That's because the formulas used were the sum formula and the count A formula. So we're going to have to change the formulas at the data range to correspond to a subtotal formula in order to be able to calculate subtotals. So let's replace the formula with a subtotal formula instead of the sum. And let's do the same thing at the formula where we count the number of transactions. So we use the subtotal again instead of count A. So when it comes to tables, you don't have to worry about changing formulas because filter conditions calculate subtotals correctly. A great tables tool is slicers. Let's add a slicer at the Table Design tab. Click Insert Slicer. Let's select column period. So we'll be able to filter on period and click OK. The slicer is created and all the possible and available choices are displayed on the screen. Let's add one more additional slicer. Let's pick the category. You can move the slices around, resize them. When the slicer is selected, at the Home tab, check the Slicer tab. This is at the ribbon of this tab, you can perform any editing or settings of the slicer. You can change the settings. You can define the order how the options appear, and so on and so forth. You can also change the slicer styles. You can pick any size that fit your application. Then we have the size area. So you can add more columns to your slicer. The category slicer will benefit from more columns. So let's change this to 3. Side and the category that options that have no data in the first criteria appear with an inactive color. Make a note that the slicers are not embedded in the rows or columns of the worksheet, which means that any filtering is not affecting the sizes of the slicers. Let's filter for period 1 and select current tracks category. Notice that the totals automatically get adapted to the filter data, which is a great tool when you're doing analysis and you need to get instant answers. You can select multiple filter conditions. You can clear the filter, bring it up to the original state. This is a great tool that tables provide for quick data analysis. This is a typical scenario. You just received 3 more months of data that you need to append in your existing report. In this report, at the data range, you have 2 columns calculating based on the data on your right. And then you need to make sure that your totals have been updated. Let's go copy the data. Ensure that the columns are in the same order with the report. So let's copy our data, go to the bottom of the report and click on Insert Cells and Shift Cells down. Right away, you see that we have to adjust the formatting of the report, make it consistent to the previous one, and then we have to copy the formulas on the left two columns, extend them all the way to the bottom, and at the end, we need to adjust the subtotal columns to reflect the new range. Let's use the brush format copy command. Let's copy paste the formulas all the way down. Let's change the subtotal formulas to ensure that the new range is included. And last but not least, let's format the total row at the bottom. And there you have it. This is where the tables shine. Let's perform the same operation at the table level. Go at the last cell, hit Tab. Automatically, a blank row is inserted. Let's go copy the data. Control C. And now let's come and paste it. When I select paste, I get a preview of what the data would look when I finalize the operation. Click paste, and there you have it. Now notice all the formulas have been updated, so we didn't have to do anything manually. And your total row has also been updated. The range have been extended. When adding formulas inside a table, or you adding formulas outside a table, but you're referencing data from the table, Excel uses the table names and the column names instead of explicit cell references. This is what is called a structure reference. The names in structure references adjust whenever you add or remove data from the table. Let's take a look at the formula in our example, the formula that converts the date. Notice that instead of the cell reference, Excel is using the column name. The specifier at, the at symbol, symbolizes the shorthand notation for this row. On the left side, let's look at the other example when we convert it to period, the date to a period. Look at the cell reference A2. Let's look at the table side. Again, look at Excel is using the column name as opposed to the cell reference. Here is an example of entering a formula outside the table, but it references table data. So in this case, we're adding a subtotal, and we highlight the column total. Look how it's entered in the formula. It's using the table name because we are outside the table, and the column name total. Excel structure references make it a lot easier to use formulas with Excel tables by replacing the cell references with predefined names such as column names or table names. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and I hope I convinced you to start using tables right away if you want to increase your productivity, your efficiency, and your quick response to ad hoc report requirements that come daily in your job.